In this video, I'm going to explain why what happened Friday is likely not to be over. And I've always said that 2025 and especially 2026 is the year of the trader, and you're going to see it very, very plainly with what I'm going to show you in this video. Many people are conned into thinking they can only make money as the markets go up. You can make money as the markets go up, go flat or go down by going long, and going long is what investors do. That is what we specialize in here. So just please bear in mind, you can make money under any market condition going long, even with what happened in the past 24 hours. Investors really must learn how to trade because the market volatility that's coming up inside the markets is going to be fairly severe. You must be prepared. Do not get wiped out. The crypto market across the weekend was hit with $19.31 billion worth of liquidations. The vast majority were long liquidations. Nearly 1.7 million positions were liquidated. This caused mass carnage right across the crypto universe. Within the span of around 10 minutes, people's fortunes were absolutely wiped out. We saw incredible price volatility. Atom went from $4 to less than, well, literally 1/10 of 1 cent. Sui went from $3.40 to 56 cents. ADA went from 80 cents to 30 cents. This is the biggest liquidation that's ever occurred in the crypto market. If you were hit by the crypto panic, our thoughts and love go out to you. It was a really tremendously volatile time. In this video, we're going to look into what caused the crypto crash, but more importantly, we're going to discuss things that no other community is discussing right now. I've been looking for it, nobody's talking about what I'm going to share with you today. I'll also explain how you need to position yourself going forwards and what you need to look out for. Let's run the numbers. In Friday's trading session, President Trump at 10:57 a.m. put out a Truth Social post that there was a massive China tariff threat. We were already sensing some weakness inside Bitcoin, inside the crypto market. If Bitcoin sells down, everything sells down with it. This is one of the most important rules that you can learn from the crypto market. Then at 4:50 p.m., Trump announced a 100% extra tariff on China. At 5:20 p.m., liquidations hit $19.5 billion. Many people said that there was no way that anyone could have predicted what would happen. But we knew for quite some time the VIX was basing and the VIX was likely to spike. And it did spike, and it spiked like hell. Looking at the VIX on a daily basis, we had an extreme spike up in terms of fear. We saw a commensurate spike up, and it was a larger spike in December that actually managed to come down over a couple of days. The question is, when we get a spike like this, is this over? Unfortunately, the vast majority of people do not understand intercorrelation between markets. When the VIX spikes up, that will create literally, depending on how big the spike is, either a retracement or a crash inside the main markets and also inside crypto. Now, when we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin did come down really hard as the VIX spiked up. This is the reason, the VIX spiking up is the reason for Bitcoin and crypto coming down. A lot of people might say, but Ken, it's an isolated news event. How could we know that it would cause this degree of damage inside the crypto market? For that, I have to explain the significance of rare earth. But before doing so, if you're still sitting on the fence and thinking there's not a relationship between Bitcoin and the VIX, I hope this solves that for you. There is unequivocally an inverse relationship between the two. A lot of people say when the dollar goes up, Bitcoin comes down, for example. Well, when the VIX goes up, everything comes down. And this is precisely why we have the cheat sheet, because the cheat sheet allows us to keep our finger on the pulse of risk on or risk off activity. And in the video that I put out for the monthly service, I was explaining that the VIX and the DXY were strengthening, and that this was something that we needed to be aware of. We got a very violent reaction, no question about it. The commentators inside the crypto market only look at crypto. This is an incredibly dangerous thing to do. All markets are intercorrelated. This means that we must look across markets. Crypto is the most sensitive market on the planet. And whilst conspiracy stories sound terrific, all of the markets are impacted by the VIX spiking. So it's very important to do your intercorrelation and your cheat sheet. And the cheat sheet is available absolutely free of charge at ctksmethod.org. There was always going to be something that started the VIX spiking, and that's why I said the news is not really the issue. Donald Trump put out this on Truth Social, and he basically said China is abusing its monopoly position with rare earths. Now, a lot of people don't have a clue on earth. What the heck is a real earth material, and is it important? I can only tell you right now, I'll give you the absolute summary version. Rare earths will stop the bull run for AI. And this is exactly why the markets threw up. Rare earth materials are used literally in everything. If you think oil is the oil for the automotive industry and the wheels of commerce, rare earth keeps everything together. They're used in tech, defense, energy. We've got a huge push towards self-driving vehicles. Without rare earth materials, that's a fantasy. Your cell phone, it relies on it. Chips, they rely on them. Military and defense, heavily reliant on rare earth. All forms of energy, and energy is becoming the dominant thing right now because AI is sucking the energy out of the planet. Rare earth dependence. China is the dominant producer of rare earths, and the rare earths come from the earth. Therefore, reserves of rare earth inside each country is a factor, as is the production of rare earths, extracting them out. In terms of global reserves, in millions of metric tons, China is number one. It's also number one in terms of annual production in metric tons. US is number two, but number two and number one, look at the difference between the two. It is really big. There are global reserves in Brazil, India, Australia, Russia, Vietnam, and Greenland. Now you know why President Trump wants Greenland. The rare earth restrictions from China will hit the US military directly. And the US is heavily reliant on rare earth imports from China. Here's a bit more of a picture in terms of China's dominance across rare earths. For example, batteries, and President Trump was talking about batteries, and I think it went over a lot of people's heads. Batteries are composed of rare earth materials. And guess what drives electric cars? Batteries. So this is something to be really aware of, and when you look at how rare earth materials are used to power US defenses, this gives you a bit of an understanding on which rare earth element is important and for what reason. Now we come to something even more important. When you look at rare earth, there's a big metal and mining ecosystem explanation here, so you can just go through it at your own leisure. But just bear in mind, AMD, Nvidia, Tesla, all of these names rely on rare earth materials. The AI boom could be brought to its knees by China. Hence the reaction. Hence it wasn't an overreaction at all. Now, how do you manage your exposure going forward? What I popped out just across the weekend was, this is my thoughts on why the alt market hasn't actually moved at all. And if you're in the stock market, you have to pay attention to the VIX. The VIX is your number one focus in the cheat sheet at the current time. And the VIX and the DXY should move together as well as yields. But if we get a falling off the cliff, the yields will move opposite direction, as will the DXY. So there's a few nuances there. But when you look into the crypto market, please make sure that you go for high-end concentration. If you're picking that 100x potential meme coin or altcoin that's number position 1,500, just be aware that there are 23 million crypto tokens in all. All of them are trying to be the next 100x. And as a result, we've got bleeding right across the altcoin universe. The alts have been hit like no time in history because the dilution, the spread of alts, it's just too great. Now, the big end of town has got into the top tier cryptos, say the top 10, the top 20. As a result, those are doing really well. Also keep your eye on privacy coins. Now, privacy coins are really interesting, and ZEC has been doing really well. There used to be Tornado Cash, but they killed it off. Now, Tornado Cash just spiked anytime there was some crypto heist or some BS inside the crypto market. Now the privacy coins are starting to point that way, like Tornado Cash used to do. Keep your eyes on them. Hindsight vision is always perfect, but if you're a student of the Profiting Masterclass, you already know that looking back about 2 weeks, we had a weakening trend and it was starting to roll over. This didn't mean it was necessarily going to bounce upwards because the VIX was coming down and doing that basing action. We only needed one piece of social media news, and Donald Trump certainly gave us that, to just send the VIX just spiking up. Now, I want to show you the intercorrelation between the VIX and Bitcoin, and this is something that I really think that you need to pop on your charts. It's very important at times like this to learn what you can learn from your losses. We always get losses inside financial markets. Price is always moving in a wave. It goes up, it comes down. It goes up, it comes down. Those losses are meant to shield you from future losses, but they have lessons that you've already paid for inside them. For example, if you've lost money, and I hope that it wasn't too disastrous, your losses, but if you have lost money inside the market, please understand that this happens to every single veteran, trader and investor. And true veteran traders are highly risk averse. And it's literally because of this you can lose everything very quickly, so you must make sure that you're doing your appropriate risk management. Now in Bitcoin, the reduction in Bitcoin was like meh, it wasn't really much. And it was just like literally a normal retracement. But we saw on the alts that the alts absolutely bled out. That's because there's a gearing factor between Bitcoin and the alts will bleed. Now, one thing that you should be able and looking at right here is the VIX spiked right before basically Bitcoin and the entire crypto market fell off a cliff. And I'd like to thank the people who have reached out and basically said that the cheat sheets saved their lives, saved their accounts, because they saw the VIX spiking and then they said, oh, I need to do something about this. I'm out. Now, what are we seeing here with the VIX? The VIX spiked up, then reached a plateau, and it's been coming down. Now, it's been coming down because it doesn't trade on the weekend. These are actually the VIX futures, so they've just woken up. Now, we've got a slight uptick here, which pushes downward price momentum. And we've got the potential for a weakening trend just at the moment. I know a lot of people will be very excited. They'll see double-digit green across the market. I'll show you what I mean. Now, I just want to show you that in the past 24 hours, it measures back to around this area. So that's why we're getting these big double-digit % gainers. Well, they were doing a little bit better earlier on, but you can see some double-digit gains in here. Now, those double-digit gains is because we just crashed down so much. The 24-hour rolling period is just measuring from a lower figure. That's it. Maybe it's a little bit easier to see it here. You can see all these double-digit gainers. That is literally the big push down because the VIX spiked up and the market's reading in from that crash to the current price. It pays to have financial literacy. I have to say, if you don't know what the markets are doing, if you think that this crash came out of nowhere, if you buy into what all of these influencers say, unfortunately, you will mistime your entries and exits from and into the market. What I would suggest over the next 24 hours, please make sure that you overlay the VIX on your chart. Just go up to this plus icon. When you've done that, just type in VIX into this area and go to the second one here, the CBOE volatility index on the futures, added as a new price scale. That's what I've just done right there. This is going to be your guide across the next fortnight. The VIX is very, very important to look into. A lot of people say, I wish I had have sold here if you were looking at intercorrelation. And of course, you may not be in the market at that time as well. So there's a lot of different factors. And another thing that I just want to talk about, a lot of influencers are using bots. They're using investing bots or trading bots. And basically, they all got wiped out as far as bot traders were concerned. And that's just a horrible, horrible thing. But this is the cost of not knowing what you're doing. A lot of people will go into the market and say, oh, I can't be bothered with this. You know, I work my absolute butt off to get my money. But when it comes to putting money into the market, oh, the rich people, you know, rich people just always get someone, and that someone does it. The rich people aren't so silly like that. That's a Hollywood cliche. In order to become rich, you must respect your money. You must put in the hard work. Now, people say, oh, I don't want to put in the hard work, Ken. I just want to gamble. Well, unfortunately, if you gamble, these kind of things await you, and that's terrible. I don't want that for you. Most people going through a horrendous loss like this, they will just basically pack up shop and disappear, only to come back when the bull market calls them again so they can do it all again. I would like to do something really special. If people reach out to me on LinkedIn, the link is in the description of this video. I'm going to be offering 5 very special scholarships to the Profiting CTKS Method Masterclass. Now, the Masterclass will give you absolutely everything that you need to know to not get victimized by price action like this, and to understand how all of these things, all of this intercorrelation and interconnection works. I'll also show you, you'll literally look over my shoulder as I do trades in a very negative market. And those trades are not when we're in a bull market, it's when price is retracing and retracing hard. I had to do that for you because I believe if you can master that kind of trading, and it's all at spot with money that you have, you're going to master every single market. So I'm going to be offering these scholarships into the Profiting Masterclass. Please reach out and contact me on LinkedIn. As you can see, the Profiting Masterclass is really, really valuable. And it will give you knowledge that you can take throughout your entire life. It will put you at a level of an institution of one. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn, and the link is in the description of this video. I'd really like to help you out, or to help your friends and family members out. It is a near full scholarship. When crashes occur, they tend to crash everything, and this is something that I really want you to be mindful of. When we're looking at digital gold, which is crypto gold, trading on Binance, this particular chart here, it just shows you when Bitcoin came down, PAXG or digital gold came down as well. This is very normal stuff. A lot of people think that gold will not even be blipped by crashes and things like that. When people are crashing, people are panicking. They're just panicking because the order books inside whatever market that they're looking at are so thin, it drives price all the way down like this. That is a panic tail. What I would like you to do is to just keep in mind the price of gold as well as the VIX as well as Bitcoin. Just keep those on your charts. Making sure that you do the cheat sheet each and every day is wildly important right now. So we've seen the VIX base. It's spiked up. It's thrown negative momentum inside the crypto market. Is it over? Probably not. In all likelihood, it's just the start. Now, the start doesn't mean it's anything bad. This is actually really good for us because we can position incredibly well. And the Profiting Masterclass will help you to just trade in any market. Remember, if you are purely an investor, I believe you're out of luck because the next couple of years you will need to know how to trade. The Profiting Masterclass will help you out, and there are those 5 scholarships on offer. We also saw the yields coming down, so the 10-year and also the 2-year oil also came down. We're not witnessing any crash events at the current time. This is just a spike, and a reasonable spike considering the seriousness of the news, which most people will not understand. Your strategy going forward is also to just keep your eye on junk bonds, which is in row 2. Now, junk bonds has been staging a bleed, a really big bleed. Smart money already knew that there were massive problems before the news on Friday session. And if you were following, you knew that something was up. Now, what we typically get is some degree of mean reversion. So we could get a rally up, but so long as we stay under this downtrend, that's the key thing for you to watch. If the markets start to recover, we would expect the euro to break out of this range. So keep your eye on that as well. Gold and silver have been going absolutely nuts, but this will only continue for a period of time. If anybody who's been a member of the community for any period of time, we know that when we used to look at oil was $140 a barrel, it's just going to $1,000. No, it's going to crash, and it did. This is not something to be concerned about. This is something to just be mindful of because the long-term impacts on gold are really, really good. But if you get a retracement back to a good structural level, that's what you're after. You don't want to buy here, you want to buy down here if you can. Looking into row 3, which is the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the Russell, and the Dow, we've seen some nasty action. That is definitely a break of trend. And we were getting topping action, like we were getting bottoming action on the VIX. If we get a spike up in the VIX, it's going to tank the markets, and you have to be aware of this. And when a tank comes, it can be pretty damn brutal, but it's only brutal if you are unprepared. Investors are experts at holding. Traders are experts at selling. You combine the two, you've got a superpower. Now, will it go straight down if it continues down? Absolutely not. It all moves in a wave. Even under all of that price action, it's moving in a wave. And you've already seen inside the crypto market, the wave up was a double-digit gain. But you should be really cautious of this. A lot of people are saying, it's all over, no problem. Don't believe it. And also, don't be scared. You need to be prepared and not scared. Keep your eyes on the structural levels. They're going to be very, very important this month. Looking into the futures, we can see that we've already had a bit of a bump up in terms of the futures on the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the Russell, and the Dow. But the Nikkei futures are not looking good. We got a bit of a bounce up in the ASX futures, Aussie futures. That's looking fairly good, but the Japanese futures are not. Also, the Hang Seng futures, they're looking weak. Looking into row 4, which is the stock market, we can see that Apple was weak, Tesla was weak, Microsoft was weak, Nvidia was weak. Now you know why Nvidia was weak. Strategy was weak, of course, because Bitcoin was also weak. It will take some time, but with the Profiting Masterclass, you will understand this at a level of institutional grade knowledge. Looking into the crypto market, which is row 5, we can see the total crypto market cap is coming up into this overhead structural resistance at 3.87 trillion. Of course, all of these are live charts. We don't mess around with cherry picking. We don't care about anything like that. We also understand that Bitcoin has structural support at 114,700 and structural resistance up around that 115,500 level. There's a lot of overhead structural resistance that's already been tapped into by Ethereum around that 4,200 area. Literally everything today comes down to that 114,700. Bitcoin must hold that level, and that will be very dependent on the VIX futures. Looking into row 7, ADA, Solana, Dogecoin, and XRP. One of the things that we can see with ADA, there's a level of structural overhead resistance at that 70.21 level. That is really important for you to keep your eye on. When looking at Solana, up around the 199 is an absolute barrage of overhead structural resistance. This means the sellers are going to be inhabiting that in a really big way. Inside Dogecoin, up around that 21,200 and down at 20,650 are the levels that you want to keep your eye on, and just a little bit lower around that 24,730. When looking at XRP, 252.41 is a really good area of structural support. Knowing where your structure is, how strong it is, how much there is absolutely critical to your success. If you were caught by leverage trading, I hope it just proves out that leverage is a really bad idea unless you're an expert at spot. And even if you're an expert at spot, you have to really know what you're doing with leverage trading, because you can wipe out your entire account. Like literally, we've seen people who worked a lifetime and just got wiped out because they're leverage trading. We don't do leverage trading with the CTKS method. We don't need to. And the Profiting Masterclass will really help you out. So if you've not done it yet, if you've done it and have friends and family who could benefit from it, please get them to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Directly message me. And please note, only people who reach out to me and contact me on LinkedIn will be eligible for this scholarship. The URL is in the link in the description. It's also right here. And just remember, Stanfield has 2 Ds. I like to stand in the field. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.